Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today I've got a Paul George build, so make sure he's a small forward, and we'll move on to the body settings. So he's listed at 6'8", and I recommend putting the build to 6'8". Particularly at small forward, it's just a good balance of height and speed, so you can play power forward or potentially as a really tall shooting guard. In terms of weight, you just want to drop it down to 195 pounds. It's just the best I've found. Going too small sort of hurts some stats, and you lose some badges because your attribute caps aren't as high, so when you take things away there's not so much of a deficit, you can lose attribute points which you can use for other things. So the best balance I found with weight was 195. In terms of wingspan, I'm not sure what his wingspan is, but I pushed it up to 7 foot. Just helped with a bit of finishing and defense. Body shape's just up to you. And we'll move on to the attributes. So for close shot, I recommend putting this up to 60. He does post up a bit and he does get to the ring a lot, but most of it's on just pure drives. So close shot doesn't really need to be incredibly high. Driving layup is probably his preferred way of finishing. In his younger years, it's probably just dunks. He'd just try and dunk over people, but now as he's getting older, he's a lot trickier with the way he can finish in traffic, so I recommend 89. That's just the sweet spot. You get all the gold layup badges, you know, acrobat gold, fearless finisher, and slithery finisher. Now in terms of driving dunk, even though I said before he doesn't quite posterize people as he used to, particularly in his Indiana days, he can still get up there and slam it on people's heads. So I wanted this build to get contact dunks. So I put it to 85 because although contact dunks is unlocked at 84, you do get a lot of animations at 85 as well, so 85 is the sweet spot. It also gave me an extra badge point. In terms of standing dunk, you are 6'8", so it is handy to have standing dunk on, and I recommend putting it to 61, which gets you the 20 finishing badges. Like I said, with this build, it was hard to get any post control at all and not sacrifice other areas of the build, and I didn't think it was crucial to Paul George as a lot of the other things were. So we'll leave finishing like that. In terms of shooting, I recommend putting mid-range to 87. He is a bit of a mid-range, shot creator. He can definitely live in the mid-range all game and put up points there. So I recommend having that high. And also recommend maxing out the 3-point shot. Earlier in his career, he was an okay 3-point shooter. He's about average, but I think, if I remember correctly, 3 out of the last 5 seasons, he's shot over 40% from 3. So he's definitely a real marksman now. With the height and the wingspan, it is hard to have good defense and have your 3-point really high. So I found that 6'8" and a 7-foot wingspan just help keep the balance. At 84, you do unlock the gold catch and shoot, and that's a really important badge to have. I would have liked to have got Deadeye, but at 87 3-point shot, I would have to sacrifice wingspan and in turn sacrifice defense. So 84 is definitely the sweet spot if you want to be able to shoot well at a lower level or attribute rating. In terms of free throw, he is a good free throw shooter. I think he floats around 85%. And just with the attribute points I had left, I got it to 78, which I think is okay on 2K. You shouldn't be missing with that if you can time it well. In terms of playmaking, he doesn't actually average a lot of assists. I was surprised when I saw this. His last couple of years with the Clippers, he's averaged over 5 assists per game, but every season before that it's been below, and he has a career average of 3.8 or something assists. So it's not terribly high for someone who controls the ball a lot. So I decided to put his pass accuracy up to 76. That just unlocked Needle Threader Silver. You don't get Dimer Silver. You get that Silver at 80. But because he does average such low assists, I didn't think it was that important. But I did want to get all the other passing badges at least Silver. So, Bullet Passer, Needle Threader, they were the more important ones that I really wanted to get. In terms of ball handle, I thought 81 is the max. I thought that was pretty good. That's pretty good for a small forward. You get a lot of animations at 80, so I thought that was important. It also gives me an extra badge point, pushing it to 81. In terms of speed with ball, he's not terribly fast. If you do watch Paul George play a bit, he plays a bit in slow-mo. He's a bit like Carmelo Anthony, how he used to sort of put the defender to sleep and then he'd make his move with real good footwork and technique. So speed with ball, I recommend putting it one below the max, which is 73. You don't lose any badge points or anything at 73, putting it below the max, so it's just good to save some points there. But that's playmaking. In terms of defense, now I'm not sure how he goes protecting the rim as such, but it is really handy to have your small forward be able to protect the paint, particularly if you play 5-on-5 and if you even play 3v3s. If your center has to guard a stretch big, having a small forward be able to rotate and guard the paint against slashes can be really effective. So 72 interior defense is pretty decent for a small forward. In terms of perimeter defense, this is really what Paul George is known for. He's a really great defender. So I wanted to get this as high as possible, and I recommend putting it to the max at 88. At 88, you just unlock the Hall of Fame Pick Dodger, which is really great to have. Obviously, you got Clamps Gold as well, and Menace, which I think are great badges as well. In terms of steal, now he does average over 2 steals a game for his career. And I would have loved to have got Pickpocket Gold, but just because of the height and wingspan, I still couldn't get it. Purely because of the height, I couldn't get steal too high. I tried widening the wingspan, but it just sacrificed so much of the other attributes that it wasn't worth it. But we do get Interceptor Gold at 78, so I think it's good enough. And having steal 82 is still really high attribute rating. You should be getting steals, particularly in the passing lanes. In terms of block, he doesn't average a heap of blocks. I think it's less than half a block a game. But just because if you do play 5-on-5, there is a chance you may be playing power forward, so it is handy to have. And I recommend putting that to 83. At 83, you just unlock an extra badge point. In terms of rebounding, when he is averaging a lot of rebounds recently. I'm pretty sure when he had his best season with OKC, where he was like 3rd in the MVP, he was averaging about 8 rebounds or something a game, so I definitely wanted this to be high, particularly because, as I said, you may be playing power forward in 5v5s, so I recommend offensive rebound at 53 and defensive rebound at 83 to get that extra badge point. You do get Rebound Chaser Silver at 81, but I recommend just popping it up to 83 just to get the extra badge point. So that's defense. In terms of your physicals, like I said before, he's not blisteringly quick. I'm sure he's a lot quicker than this, but I just found to get the other attributes I wanted in his stats, I had to sacrifice a bit of speed and acceleration, which is okay. At 6'8", having 75 speed and 75 acceleration is good enough. You'll still be able to get up the court, get out for fast breaks, make it across the court because you've got a 7-foot wingspan, you'll be able to contest shots. I play with a small forward that's got roughly 75 speed and acceleration. I can cover the court very easily. I've got a 7-foot wingspan as well, so you should be fine with this speed and acceleration. In terms of strength, 47 is just what it goes up to because of interior defense, and it does come in really handy on finishing at the rim, particularly contact dunks. Having the strength there really helps you win a lot more contact dunks than you lose, so you get a lot more posters. So I do recommend bumping speed up if you can. It's not incredibly important, but if you are going to make your player tall, say taller than 6'7", which is the minimum height for a power forward, I do recommend trying to get strength up somewhat, particularly if you're going to be a slashing type player, if you're going to put some slashing in, particularly dunking. But as I said, with the contact dunks, you do need to have 75 vertical to get the pro contact dunks, which I unlocked at 84. So make sure you have 75 vert. And for the rest, just pop the rest on stamina. So in total, we have 20 finishing, 28 shooting, 22 playmaking, and 25 defensive badges for a total of 95 badges. And a really versatile small forward wing player. You know, this sort of build can do everything. It's got contact dunks, it can shoot really well, has a level of playmaking and dribbling that most players should be able to make do with, particularly if you are a good dribbler. 80 dribbling should be enough for you at a minimum, and defense is really outstanding. So we'll move on to the takeovers. I chose negative impact for Paul George. He does do a lot of, I wouldn't say step back shots, they're more like hop step sideways, and he pulls up for the mid range. He gets free that way and he'll pull up for a shot. I thought about pull up precision, but I just thought negative impact would just help with contests, and I think he does hit a lot of contested shots. Then his secondary takeover is just finishing moves. He's definitely a slasher, particularly in his early days, and that's where he gets a lot of his points. So I recommend finishing moves as your secondary. And we'll move on to the build. So you've built a two-way sharpshooter, shades of OG Anunoby, Jason Tatum, and Latrell Sprewell. So it's definitely a lot like Jason Tatum. This build could definitely be applied to Tatum. But I think Paul George is probably a better defender. But yeah, I think they're pretty good comparisons. So we'll move on to the badges. So for Paul George, definitely a limitless takeoff. You know, he's got plenty of hops. So we definitely want posterizer as well. Slithery finishes, just a great badge. We definitely want fearless finisher. And being 6'8", having mouse in the house, even bronze, is really handy. Because you do come up, particularly in the rec center, you do often come up against shooting guards that have to play small forward, and they're often like 6'4" or 6'5", mostly 6'6", but they're often 6'4" or 6'5" as well, and you can really take advantage of that on drives. So I recommend having that as well. Lob City, if you do play 3v3s, is really great because there's a lot of opportunities for lobs. And then Unstrippable is just handy just to make sure you don't lose. You know, there's nothing more frustrating than attacking the rim and getting stripped because someone's spamming steal. So to have that, at least bronze does help out. But that's finishing. In terms of shooting, we definitely want things like limitless spot ups, just great for the game. I'm not sure how deep he hits them, but he is a really good 3-point shooter, so I recommend having limitless spot up. You know, Green Machine, you can get really hot. He's often called Playoff P because he's either hot or cold, but when he's hot, you know, he goes crazy. So Green Machine's great badge to have. Lucky 7's just a good one. Deadeye, Catch and Shoot, just all the, you know, the typical ones. Hot Zone Hunter, Rhythm Shooter's pretty handy. Sniper, and Volume Shooter does take a lot of shots. So Volume Shooter is handy to have on silver if you can get it. But that might be something I would go with. You know, Clutch Shooter might be something. He's reasonably clutch player, so that could be something. If you really wanted to make a Paul George build, you'd put that on. But that would be the lad I would go with. In terms of playmaking, now, like I said, he's not a great playmaker. He's more of a shot creator in this area of the game. So you probably want things like quick first step, hyper drive, just to help when you're moving down the court. Tight handles does come in handy. Helps you not get stripped because it tightens up, like it says, it tightens your handle up, and so it's not so loose in the game. Space Creator definitely is off the dribble shooter. Needle Threader just to help with passes. Glue Hands, just catch and shoots. You can put Dimer on bronze, it's always good for the boost. Handles for days, and I recommend working it around. Maybe when you start, if you build this player and start your career, I recommend putting some extra badges in playmaking so that you can get downhill at least silver and unpluckable at least silver. So you'll need, possibly an extra 3 badges, but I think the rest of the build has got enough badges that you should be fine with. It's just playmaking. So put a couple badges in playmaking to get unpluckable and downhill, and you've got a really great layout. And in terms of defense, things like Intimidate, it's great. You know, Pick Dodger, Tireless Defender. just to help with stamina. Rebound chaser, pickpocket, menace. You know, chase down artist is fantastic. Clamps, we want that gold for him. And then interceptor. They're the ones you probably want on the perimeter. You got some rebounding to help out with that as well. Pogo stick might be something you want to look at. Rim protector if you do play a lot of power forward. But that would be the layout I would go with. So that's the build. I hope you've enjoyed the video and I hope you have a really great day.